Hello crafty friends, and welcome to another clean and simple card making video. Today I'm going to use another sketch from my June sketch booklet. It's also the sketch for my Facebook group challenge this month, so if you'd like to join in with that, you can join my Facebook group. The link is in the video description. So on the sketch there is a large sentiment, and I picked 3 large sentiment dies from my stash because I wasn't sure which one I was going to choose. And then I took a piece of linen textured cardstock and ran it through my die cutting machine with a stitched rectangle panel to create the front panel of my card. I then decided on the happy birthday die and placed this where I wanted it on the panel, and that allowed me to line up my border die so as to cut a shape out of my front panel behind which I could put a piece of mixed media. And that's what I created next. I took some mixed media paper and I smushed on some tumbled glass distress oxide ink which I'd mixed with water. Before that dried, I also smushed on some broken china distress oxide. I didn't mix this one with water though, I mixed it with a white shimmer spray to make it a bit shimmery. I mopped up the excess with a bit of scrap paper, and that went in my box of backgrounds and bits, and then I gave it a really good dry with a hairdryer. After that I stamped an image on. I've got this, I'm not sure what the actual name of the pattern is called, but it's sort of overlapping circles that make these interesting leaf shapes, and I stamped that in tumbled glass. I did think about using the broken china, but I wanted it to be relatively subtle, not too bold. So I had to stamp that several times, hence why I put it in my stamp positioner to get a good impression. I find with blue distress oxides, they stamp less well than all the other colours in the range. I don't know if it's something to do with the formulation of the blue inks, but I often have to do several stampings to get a good impression with the blue inks in that range. I wasn't sure how much of my background was going to be peeking through the aperture in my front panel, so I did another row of stamping above that. Once I was happy with that, I spattered on some light gold metallic paint and then gave that another really good blast with my hairdryer to make sure it was all dry. And the neighbour's cat decided to pop round and say hello. She jumped up on my desk, which she doesn't do very often, but sometimes she does. So I thought I'd leave that in for you to make you smile. I wanted to add a bit of physical texture to my piece of mixed media, so I used an embossing folder with some circles on. So we got stamped circles and embossed circles. I then stuck the pieces that I'd cut from the front panel onto the mixed media piece using tape runner. I didn't do any measuring with a ruler, I just eyeballed it all so that it would fit nicely on the front of my 4x6 inch card. I trimmed off any overhanging bits with a guillotine, shuffling the panel pieces around as necessary, and I did use my scoreboard corner to help me line up the edges of the panel with the edges of the mixed media piece. I then used some more tape runner to stick the whole thing onto the front of my card, leaving a little white border all the way around the outside. I decided to cut my sentiment from some matte rose gold or very pale copper foiled cardstock. To adhere this to my card, I used high-tack white glue, and I used my glue dotter to apply the glue to the back of the die cut. If you want to know how to make a smusher, which I used earlier, a DIY shimmer spray, which I used earlier, and the glue dotter, then there are links to all those instructional videos in this video's description. Once I'd added the glue to the back of the die cut, I then positioned it on the front of my card. I used a damp baby wipe to mop up any of the glue that had got onto the front of the die cut. This is really easy to do when you're using foiled card. It doesn't mind a little bit of moisture from the baby wipe. I then took the scrap of foiled card that I'd used to cut the sentiment from and ran it through my die cutting machine again with a tiny circle die. I then added some drops of matte gel medium to the mixed media area and added these little rose gold circles onto the dots of glue just to spread that copper around a bit and add another element to the mixed media piece. So I think this card counts as clean and simple. All the colour and pattern and texture is restrained within that diagonal swoop. There's plenty of white space and some nice clean lines. Right, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to come along to my Facebook group if you'd like to share any photos of cards you've made using this challenge sketch or any card. I'm not fussy. It would be lovely to see you there. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll see you back here very soon for another clean and simple card making video. Bye for now.